me, I'm Alan Furstenberg.
And I'm Noble Ackerson.
And we are Two Voice Devs. Noble, we are here at Google I/O. We are recording in this fantastic outdoor space that they've set up for us as part of the community lounge. Thank you so much to the community lounge and the organizers for letting us do this. It's day 2 at I/O. Yesterday we had the keynote, the developer keynote. We've been running around this festival for a day and a half now. What's been your big thing?
Well, first, I want to thank you for having me back on.
Oh, it is awesome to have you on.
Yeah,
Noble. It's great.
I also want to thank the Google Developers Experts Program for sort of putting something together like this and inviting us to I/O, and people like Christine in the background recording us, chuckling as we're talking.
As we're doing this now.
As we're talking. This is magnificent. It's always, the energy is always just insane.
It's always, yes.
And what kicked it off, the main keynote where Demis comes on stage and sort of just sets the stage. And of course, all of that happens. And one thing sticks out at me, and you want to guess what that is?
No, I don't. I want you to tell me. Because you and I messaged several times in the middle of the keynote.
I was both flabbergasted and shocked at the same time.
Okay.
Agentic coding in search.
Yes. Yes.
Why? So this is the main search tool. So Google's doing a couple of things. One, they've put the frontier model, the frontier offering.
Their brand new model.
Yep.
Gemini Flash 3.5.
Out in the open for the whole world to see.
Yes.
Google is not playing catch up anymore. Google is at the forefront, showing not just the art of the possible, but showing that frontier models can be deployed at the scale of Google.
And deployed at the scale of Google in googly ways.
Right.
So it's not just a chatbot. It's not, we've gone so far beyond the chatbot.
Bingo.
But they're integrated deep.
Right.
Deep in the big Google product itself, search.
Right. There's this competitive advantage only a company like Google can sort of harness. And that is dominate at every step of the stack, whether it be from the chips to the services, to the infrastructure, to the application layer, to the models.
Right.
Every single part of that layer cake, as Justin Wong would call it.
And this is what we saw at Next. This is what Alice and I talked about last episode from Next.
Yep.
Google's dominating, and I think this is the big example.
And how they have harnessed that into agentic coding and search, which, by the way, right before we started recording, I could never remember what it was called. Because it's just such a weird thing. Why would I want anti-gravity agentic coding in my search? Well, can we pause it on why I'm excited? And okay. So initially I was like, what? Like, this makes no sense, because coding is something that I don't do on search, whether they want me to believe that or not.
Right. And I think even more importantly, most people, when they search for something, they are not searching for coding answers.
Right.
They are searching for next vacation, answers to their kids' homework.
Right.
On and on and on.
However, I go back to my product fundamentals and I realize that the code has never been the value in a way. The code is just a means to an outcome.
Yes.
And the outcome is what they actually showed off on stage, which is something that's very passionate to me, which is generative UI.
Yes.
So what is generative UI? Generative UI is a way to sort of dynamically display information that is rich in interaction, that is rich in visuals, in the way that humans can consume it.
Yeah.
We have been spoiled for the last couple of years. If anybody knows who I am and has ever read anything or seen any of my talks, I talk about how chatbots are a lazy interface. You put words in, you get words out. So there's a text-to-text paradigm that I think is played out. There's a text-to-image paradigm that has a purpose, text to images, images to text. But what we really haven't seen a lot of is text to dynamic, rich interactions back. And that's the paradigm of generative UI.
And it's interesting because when Gemini 1 launched, and you and I chatted about this at the time, they were talking about how Gemini was the first truly multimodal product.
Right.
And they said, and it will handle modalities, not just text, but also images and video and user interfaces. And they just kind of listed this right along there.
Right.
And then we never saw that again.
We never saw that again. I think what's happened, a lot has changed since, well, what, 3-4 years ago? When Bard was sort of transitioning into Gemini. One is obviously models have gotten better. We've had a lot of learnings. We've had a lot of feedback. Models have evolved into different modes. So we've got reasoning models. Reasoning models have sort of powered a new agentic world that we all live in now.
Yep.
Where they're tools. And so now, how does this all tie into search? Now you have a researcher, a student, a programmer, an engineer, or a person trying to fix their bike at home, being able to speak a complex phrase or question or statement, whatever it is.
Maybe even have a conversation about that.
To Google and get a visual representation dynamically created in a way that cannot be recreated in any other medium, streamed back to me in real time. And like you said, there are many turns that I can evolve that. So a great example, if you want to talk about the example that they showed on screen.
Yeah, the example that they were giving was searching for information about black holes. And it gave, some standard text about black holes. And then it brought up a graphic image of, if you picture the standard image that you see about black holes, you get, this black center and grid lines coming out representing a gravity well. But then underneath that, it had some slider controls. So you could slide and change, how much gravity, how big is this? How many black holes are there? So if we've got black holes orbiting each other, what does that represent? What does that look like? What's the ratio of the size of the black holes? How does that change things? So instead of just answering a question, you are now interactively exploring the topic.
Which brings a depth of cognitive understanding and reasoning for the learner, or, in a way that a flat text response
doesn't give you. But and I could see how this makes sense. Previously they've done like early versions of this, but it was very, very narrowly focused. So for example, if you were asking about flight times, it would give you a dynamic flight planner, where you could narrow down the airlines and so forth. Now this is saying we're doing that for every single topic on the planet.
On the planet, which is actually a great segue in that the theme that I noticed yesterday during the main keynote was 4 things: 3 pillars and 1 straddler. Models.
Yes.
They talked about Omni and where the models are going. And we had Demis on screen.
Right. We're going to see, oddly enough, Omni was not something that I think was our big pick.
Right.
But so we're going to need to talk about that one another time.
We're going to talk about that another time. So Omni brings a level of spatial understanding and creativity that only Google with the Gemini's native multimodality can provide. So that was sort of the first pillar. The second pillar was coding, which we've touched upon a little bit with agentic coding and search.
Which we have to keep saying because otherwise we'll forget
which is anti-gravity, which is this thing that is consuming all other Google coding solutions like Gemini CLI.
All of it's now anti-gravity. And
it's
again,
all anti-gravity.
Another story.
For another day.
But we did see how every product that they were talking about tied back into anti-gravity.
Anti-gravity,
and tied back into Flash.
Which brings us the third pillar, which was agents, which ties into anti-gravity. They talked about new capabilities in Gemini, like, Google Spark, or Spark in Gemini. Another interesting
choice of names
or features that are disconnected from other things. But, you know, Claude can have Claude can have co-work and, you know, Claude Code.
So those are the three pillars.
Those are the three pillars. And underpinning that is Google flexing its muscles to say all of those can show up in search and power real use cases at scale with Google search. And I've never seen such a tight, cohesive story, because only 4 years or so ago, every analyst that I happen to follow begrudgingly was talking about how Google was over and Bing and OpenAI was going to displace search.
Yeah, no, I think it's remarkable.
But that was my point of view. That's what I was really excited about, which is this agentic coding and search. I'm interested in learning what you thought.
What do you think was my big story?
There's something on your face.
What do you think was my big story?
I would say something with a gentle monster, something with Samsung, and something with Warby Parker.
Yeah.
And those were intelligent eyewear.
Intelligent eyewear, which is an interesting choice of words. But yes, you know, you and I a year ago, you and I sat down and we were talking about the future of eyewear, what was going to happen next with glass. I got to tell you, the number of people that have stopped me and asked me about glass this year, never been so high in 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe even 12.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of interest in what I am currently wearing, and everyone was asking the same question. Am I getting it when it comes out this fall?
What did you say last year?
Tell you what, why don't we look at this take from last year about what you and I said. So bottom line, would you buy one today? If you got that phone call that said, Noble, we've got a prototype sitting for you here today, would you buy it?
My mind says no, my body says yes, my heart says yes. And this is why. It depends on the price.
Well, what's the price? What's the yes price point?
$499.
I assume that's $499.
$499.
Yes, I would agree with that price point.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we said.
All right.
When I get one, you know, this year, one of the only announcement really that they made on stage was not just who was involved, which we knew, but we started seeing the first glimpses of what those frames would look like. And we heard a rough date of this fall.
Yep.
And that was really it on the announcement.
There's going to be a fall event. Where...
And it's going to be audio, where we're going to see here, the first one out will be an audio-only version.
Right.
With a rapid follow-on for a video version.
Right. Which we don't really know what that means, because if you don't mind, what we did see here at Google I/O had both.
Right. So we did go into the AI playground, which is right over there. The AI Sandbox, and they let us play with it, kind of like they let us play with it last year. But this year, the demo was a little bit different.
Right.
You know, up the game just a little bit. And you could use those prototype classes in either audio-only mode,
right,
or in the audio and screen mode.
Right.
And I thought that was really interesting. That was a big changeover last year.
Right, right. And I kind of like that from an accessibility standpoint. For those who are, you know, who may have difficulty hearing, shipping an audio only mode that didn't have a visual for fallback could be a disadvantage to certain people that may have the means to get something like this.
Well, I think it's all, you know, I think all of these, it really comes down to how do we handle the different modalities, and how do we make sure that we as developers aren't locked in on a particular modality.
So when you went to the AI Sandbox and you got your demos, I'm sure you had a series of demos. What was your favorite demo?
Both my favorite and the one I disliked the most was at the very end. The last thing they had us do was stand in front of a mirror and take a selfie.
Right.
And I liked it, partly because that's glass.
Right.
That felt very, very familiar.
Right.
That was really the only thing about the whole demo that felt familiar, that felt fluid, that felt comfortable, that really felt like I could just say, do this, and we're done.
Right.
The downside was what they were pushing with it was take a picture and tell it how you want to modify the picture with Nano Banana.
I disagree with that. I think,
and that was cool.
I thought that was phenomenal.
It was cool.
Yeah.
My problem with it the first time I tried it was I said, take a picture. He took the picture and I said, now do this with it. And it didn't handle that.
It didn't handle that. It wanted you to string that.
Right. That was.
Yeah. So it's almost like it captured the first command and didn't wait for a follow on. Or I didn't retain that context.
It didn't have the context.
And there was no state in that. So I'm sure that's a software bug.
I'm sure that, it's still early. We're still a couple of months out.
It's early for 3 years, but
yeah.
it's okay. But yes, so for me, this is going to sound very naive and silly, but the most interesting demo that I had was the translation.
Interesting.
Which is, I'm going to Japan at the end of this year. And I've seen this demo a million times. I saw it 14 years ago with Glass.
Right.
But for some reason, having a lady speak to me in Korean, and even with the latency, being able to have a conversation with her in a way that was accurate, natural-ish.
I was going to say fluid.
Fluid is the right word here. Was amazing. And I told her, I thanked her for the demo. And she said, the person who just went right below me, the reason why she was crying is it brought her to tears. And there's something human about that.
There's something and this is what we've been saying for years about Glass.
Yeah.
Years and years and years, and they keep not listening to us.
Yeah.
Is just how personal these devices are.
100%.
And can be and should be, and you need to be designing for it.
Right.
And it was great. After that, I spent literal hours in the Android tent talking to the Android XR teams about what that's going to feel like for developers, what third-party apps will feel like,
right?
What that smooth transition from Gemini into to getting a response back and back will be.
Right.
Because one of the things that I felt in the demo was it very much felt like if I wasn't doing first-party stuff, it felt like an awkward jump.
Yep.
That translation was, I had to start the translation app.
Yep.
And that felt interrupted. I want that smooth, there when you need it, out of the way when you don't experience.
All right, we're almost at time. Let's rapid fire some questions, but go ahead.
So here's the thing.
What? Yep.
Here was the question that we asked ourselves last year.
Sure.
Bottom line, you're going to get one in the fall?
I'll likely get one just for just the newness of it. And given that Glass brings a new, Glass, this
if they don't,
terrible mistake.
I'm going to keep calling it Glass.
Intelligent Eyewear with Samsung or Gentle Monster or whoever else, with Gemini gives me the opportunity to do new things. Like stand in front of a mirror and have it reimagine me for riding a roller coaster with Michael Jackson, which is actually what I did.
Yeah, we will see that picture. That picture will be,
And so given the newness of it and just wanting to open my creative pieces, I would love to buy one in the fall. I will hold on to recommending it once the developer experience
I want to see what the developer experience is. And the good news is that they do have an early access developer program.
Yeah, right.
So
look out for that.
So today you can test it in emulators, and I'll be including a link to where you can sign up to hopefully be part of the early trusted tester program, where I hope to be part of as well.
That's right.
And, a year from now, hopefully we will both be back here.
And you'll have a sky blue version of it.
If they have a sky blue frames from
Or
Warby
you can
Parker,
just basically take these frames and superimpose them on there.
Well, like I did for my test run.
Right.
But we will be back here and we will talk about it for another episode of Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs.
Noble, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you again to the Google team for letting us do this.